It's Nickey of the Mossel Bay Advertiser, and I'm speaking to Mr. Graham Paulse, Head of Department of Local Government at the Western Cape Government. Mr. Paulse, you are involved in strategic planning with all representatives of Mossel Bay, as well as other municipalities in the Garden Route. Tell us, what do you aim to do?
This is what we call SIGN. It's the Strategic Integrated Municipal Engagements. We have them once a year. And fundamentally what we want to achieve during the course of the day and over the next couple of months is to have co-planning, co-budgeting and co-implementation between the two spheres of government, both the provincial and the local government. And the new government after elections next year will come in and they will develop what they call the provincial strategic plan. And part of the session today is to see what are the emerging challenges, what are the emerging themes coming through in Garden Route that could potentially land what we call the provincial strategic plan next year. So it's an emphasis on co-planning, that us together with the municipalities plan collectively, and also then co-budget, but we also implement this, being both responsible for the implementation.
I noticed that the Integrated Development Plan forms a very important part of this planning. How do you foresee the IDP working towards this planning?
What we want to do is, as we want to get this key themes and challenges within the PSP, those themes and challenges must also be reflected in the IDPs of municipalities. So it will be reflected in the IDPs of municipalities, it will be reflected in what we call the SDBIPs of municipalities. So in the SDBIPs, as well as the Service Delivery Integrated Budget Implementation Plan, and the APPs, which is the Annual Performance Plans of provincial departments, to align that, because for too long the province has planned on plan and the municipalities have done their own planning. We get into the room and we share those plans, and then afterwards we want to try and align those plans, but it has dawned on us that is very limiting, and for that reason from the outset we are now saying what is it that we need to plan together, when what differently we call joint up government or joint up planning in the province and so on.
But Mr. Paulse, you mentioned very interestingly that you are going towards a provincial national government election, whereas municipalities are still very much in the half really of their term. How will elections then affect this planning that you're doing now?
Well, this is the preparation. Obviously the new government will then prioritize the process of a different methodology, and it's possible that the work that we are doing now in terms of joint planning can be incorporated into the PSP or otherwise the APPs. The fact of the matter is municipalities are required on an annual basis to review the IDPs, and part of the revision of the IDP can, if it has not been absorbed or taken up in the IDPs, can introduce some of these new themes and so on. So today we're not talking about projects. We are talking about what are the emerging challenges and the themes, and the consequent planning and project determination will follow once we have agreed on what are the emerging themes and challenges in the Garden Route area.
Interesting you mentioned themes and challenges. Obviously we've just had tremendous fires. What other kind of challenges can you expand?
We have asked the Garden Route District Municipality to convene with the locals in the area, and they've prioritized 3 areas. The first area is the economic growth, economic stimulation, and what they are promoting, the idea is about what we call a special economic zone for this area. So that's the one thing that emerged out of the discussions this morning. The second was around smart people, smart cities, smart transport, public transport, and everything that's connected with smart people. And then obviously the last thing that they've identified is about good governance through integrated service delivery, and it's really about how do you become more efficient and effective in terms of service delivery. Stuff that has been identified is obviously the increased population growth in the area, but also your water sanitation, the waste, which is a real challenge in the area. But besides that, the management of the disasters, as seen in the recent fires and so on. Currently, the guys are actually contextualizing the content of those emerging themes and we will conclude on that later in the course of the day.
A last question, Mr. Paulse. Much have been said in Mossel Bay George area specifically, and you've alluded to that also through mentioning smart cities. Any movement, any plans on the metro for the Garden Route?
Well, there's, as late as last week, there has been a view from the district and all the local municipalities in the area. In a presentation this morning of the district municipal manager, he has iterated again the need for a district. And you know, next to the city of Cape Town, this is a secondary city, and it's a major area of economic growth and development and so on. So it has been put on a table that we need to support the idea of this particular area becoming and declared as a metro in future and so on. So we will work on that, and we will assist the Garden Route district municipality and the locals in that regard.